That'd be awesome. Thank you.
We are live now.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Liz. Oh,
hello.
got Charles coming too. Hi, everybody. Welcome. So go ahead and just get started, and as other folks begin to join, we can welcome them. Great. And Ryan, I imagine, hi Ryan, you saw my email about perhaps providing our icebreaker and walkthrough of the agenda, if you wouldn't mind.
I did not, because I just walked in from some morning meetings off-site.
I'd be happy to do it. I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. Let me just find them.
And we've got them up on the screen now, too.
Okay. It's my apologies. I've been meeting with a really neat new veterans group in our city who's doing some really neat things. So that was fun. So welcome, everybody. Do we have a planned icebreaker, Sarah?
Yes, we do.
Do I need to look in my email?
That's okay. I can go ahead and I'm an icebreaker fan.
Okay.
So our icebreaker today is really just to go around, and if we all could pick one word that is our mission for this meeting, what would that one word be? Ryan, would you like to start us off, please?
I will choose inspiration or inspiring.
Great. And then you tag the next person. We'll all tag.
Okay. Liz.
Sorry, I was concerned you'd pick me next. Oh my goodness. So not an icebreaker fan. I'll start there, but let me see here. We'll go with insightful. I'm hoping it will be insightful.
Great. And then you tag the next person. Liz?
I will tag Eric.
Okay. I don't have one word. I have it's like a phrase, and that's catching up. Just because I've been out.
Okay, and then you
and I have to tag somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me find the picture. I will tag Tamara.
All right. I'm going to totally steal your phrase and quote Britney Spears and say, "You better work, bitch."
Woo!
And I will tag
Love it.
Jackie Taylor.
Hello. Okay. I'm ready to reach some conclusions.
That's a good one.
Oh gosh, now I have to see everybody. Okay. Oh, hang on. I'm having trouble. Sarah, can you be my alternate me and pick someone? I am
Yes, I would be happy to. We
having
will
trouble
tag-
getting.
That's no problem. We'll tag Charles in next. Charles? Charles, what is your one-word mission for today? Oh, sorry.
Progress.
Great, thank you. And then you tag the next person. Did we get everybody? I think we might have.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, great. Thank you all so much.
Unless we're doing mag staff too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're always into it if you'd like us to.
I think we should.
Brandy's on here. I'll tag Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Charles. I'll say strength. Strong group. I'll tag Sarah.
Okay, great. My mission statement word is clarity. And I will tag Amy.
Dang it, that was mine. I'll go with energy, and I'm tagging Jim.
Oh, finished. Who's left? Is it Tina? Who's else is on?
Yeah.
Tina?
How about collaboration?
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for entertaining us. So if everybody can see the screen here, we'll just quickly go over the agenda. And yes, we have Jim back. So that's awesome. We love you, Jim. So Jim will be kicking us off to hopefully finish up the mission, vision, and value statement. He's quite the guru when it comes to finishing stuff up like this. And then he'll hand it over to me, where we will really talk about policy related goals and what type of information you're all seeking, so that you can make the best decision for what goals you'd really like to work on. But of course, I think we have to get pretty far in the mission, vision, and values in order to know what those goals will be more clearly. So it's really just about process, and then we'll talk next steps. And then we'll say goodbye from there. So with that, are there any questions or anything else that you would like to discuss today? Okay. And the best mission statement award definitely goes to Tamara. That was excellent. Okay, I'll hand it over to Jim to take us away on this mission, vision, and value statement. Welcome back, Jim.
Uh-oh, do we lose Jim?
Okay, easy.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, we can.
Okay, sorry. This is not easy work, what you've been working on. And I was thinking today, the meeting is called the Strategic Planning Retreat. This may no longer feel much like a retreat anymore, because of how long we've been working on this. But I do believe that sticking to it and sort of finishing your mission, your vision, your values, and your strategies and goals, I think is a really helpful endeavor and activity for the long-term results of a board like this. So what I want to try to do is go back to the work that the subgroup has done on the mission, values, and vision. I'd like to look at those intently. This may be a working session today with this group to try to finish these three elements of the CoC. There may be some wordsmithing we may need to do, but I would hope by the end of this time, we would feel pretty good about these statements that we've put together. Just a reminder, vision is what do we want to achieve long term? Okay, so it's a forward thinking. It's sort of the end state of what we want to do. Mission is our purpose, why we exist, who we are. Values then represent the behaviors. How do we carry out our mission? So the mission becomes sort of what we do. Values become how we go about doing it. Okay. And then we'll get to later today, we're going to talk a little about kind of set the stage for working on goals. Those become our activities to carry out our work, or to carry out or meet the mission and purpose. All right, so I think maybe let's look at first, if you would with me, the vision statement, which Sarah has put up there. This is what the team, the subgroup, worked on and came up with the last time they were together and wanted to bring back to the bigger group. The Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care's vision is that everyone has a safe place to call home, and that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-reoccurring in our region, and or where racial disparities and other inequities are eliminated. So let me just throw that out and say, how do you feel about, and is that the CoC's mission, vision, excuse me? And is there any comments or questions about that statement?
I like it. I think it's strong. I keep in mind, I'm a former elementary education teacher, so language and formation of sentences are really important to me. I don't like that. I like keeping racial disparities and inequities in there, but I would just maybe in our region where racial disparities and other inequities are eliminated. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. I think that's good. It's a good suggestion. The parentheses, the kind of that parenthetical piece is a little bit awkward. So I like how you've corrected that for us, Jackie. Thank you. How else? Other people's response, feedback on this.
I really like it. My one wonder is if we might want to say Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care's vision is that everyone has a safe place to call home, but when homelessness does occur, it is rare, brief, and non-recurring. And then I'd have to figure out how to tack on the racial disparities piece correctly. And that's just a question to the group if they feel like, because I almost feel like the first sentence and the second sentence, if we don't put a but when it does occur, we're almost a tiny bit contradictory potentially.
Right.
And when homelessness does occur, it is rare, brief, and non-recurring. I'm not sure if we need that in our region because we've said regional already.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have maybe just write into where racial and other equity, but then I'm not sure if the where makes sense after we change that a little bit.
Hey,
I almost feel like we should move the racial disparities up, maybe. Like a safe place to call home, period. Where racial disparities and other inequities are eliminated. And I don't know, and when it does occur.
I feel like that's right, Ryan. It was looking a little wonky.
Yeah.
Like this.
And if that doesn't work, then I say we go back to the way it was.
Racial disparities. Yes, and then a comma after eliminated. And
yes.
Then maybe and when homelessness does occur,
yes.
They're brief and non-recurring.
Yes.
I think wasn't there a where before racial disparity?
I don't think we need it now.
Okay.
Do we, Jackie?
No.
Yeah, you need something there.
You do?
Before racial.
Okay, so would where still work?
I think where works.
I like that because we want it to be safe and no racial disparities.
I like that.
So then it would be and when homelessness does occur. There you go.
I like that a lot.
That'd be my edit.
I love that.
You love that?
Yes.
I really like moving the racial disparities piece up.
Me too.
Then it does look like a tag on, right?
Right.
It's very intentional.
And do we want to say, and if homelessness does occur rather than and when?
I feel personally, and this is just personal, I could live with either way, but the when is an acknowledgement that it will occur. I mean, we know this. We don't want to seem impractical or unrealistic.
Agreed.
We know it's going to occur, and that's why we're all here, right? To make sure that when it does, we have an immediate solution because we know the impact and it's unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I do too.
Would it work to make the when homelessness does occur a second sentence, just so it's not
Just like period,
like
when
period
homelessness does
after?
occur.
Yeah.
Sorry. Homelessness does occur. It is rare, brief, and non-reoccurring.
Why? Because everyone has a safe place to eventually call home.
Mm-hmm.
Circular. I like it.
I'm fine with it either way. I leave it to the grammatical experts to say what's better.
Okay, any other thoughts?
I would love to hear what like an Eric Cole, who is kind of maybe seeing this piece for the first time, thinks of it, or Charles.
Wow, you just totally outed me. I love it.
Sorry.
No, it's great.
Well, you said you were playing catch up, so.
I am. No, I really like it. The only thing I'm playing with is now that it's a second sentence, could we say something like I don't have it, but like we will make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring, or something a little more active, but I haven't.
It will be.
Ooh.
I don't know.
When homelessness does occur, it will be rare, brief, and non-recurring.
Although
if
it is my little more powerful, maybe. I don't know.
We say homelessness in our community will be rare.
There you go.
Non-reoccurring.
Love it. Nice, Jackie.
Well, you guys were throwing out the ideas there.
We still need the when it does occur, I think. Right?
Well, I think it's a given. We're always going to have homelessness, right? But our goal should be that when it happens, we can respond quickly. Our vision, this is our vision, remember? That when it does happen, people don't languish in the system. They move through and they're housed in whatever housing is appropriate for them quickly. And we want it to be non-reoccurring. Just my 2 cents. It's biblical, Ryan.
Yeah.
The poor will always be with us.
I thought you meant the statement was biblical. I think it's got some like lyrical understatedness to it. I mean, I don't know. It feels, it's got that, I don't know. I like it the way it is.
I like it too.
So just maybe from an outsider's perspective, it looks like the first sentence is that everyone has a home, right? That's the vision. That homelessness doesn't exist. If everyone has a home, then homelessness doesn't exist, right? And then the second sentence then talks about, well, but if it does occur, it's going to be rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. I wonder, and again, this is your vision statement, but it seems like the homelessness in our community will be rare, brief, and non-reoccurring, where or leading to everyone having a safe place to call home. It's sort of like if you the first sentence sort of almost contradicts the second sentence.
That's why I was adding the when it does occur, so that we were sort of bridging to the acknowledgement that while this is our vision, we want to have a plan to make it as least traumatic as possible.
Yeah.
Because really the vision is just stops at the after eliminated. Really, the vision is that everyone has a safe place to call home, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm not even. So if we do want to add in the second piece, then I would probably want to have that when it does occur piece. Maybe the most powerful thing is to not even have that second sentence.
Yeah.
But
No.
Would that fit under the mission? That second sentence?
So before we give up on it, I like Jim, your point. So bear with me. Okay, I'm going to bumble through this a little bit. So how about Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care's vision is a community where homelessness,
Yeah, I like where you're going.
grief, and non-reoccurring, and where housing is the something goal, the end goal for all impacted, or something like that. So we know homelessness is going to be with us, but it's rare, it's brief, it's non-reoccurring, and our ultimate goal is getting people into housing. So guys, play with that, see what you think.
This is Ryan.
Is it, and where I mean, I like your idea. I like the comment that everyone has a safe home. This whole concept to me is really, I think I think it's powerful, but
It's, I'm playing with the vision as a community where everyone has a safe place to call home, and racial disparities and other inequalities are eliminated. I mean, it just tweaks it.
Yeah, maybe we stop with that.
Maybe we do.
I like that. I mean, I feel like the homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring is something that USICH says a lot. We don't necessarily have to have that in our vision.
Yeah, it could, like Brandy said, it could go into another element.
Yeah.
well, I think part of that, when homeless does it, I think there is a piece of that that's really should be in your mission. I mean, that's who you are. You are taking on and trying to address to ensure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. That's a little bit of the purpose of I think what the CoC is.
That's a good
I agree. I think it's probably better in the mission statement.
For the vision, I hate to, I mean, now I've locked in on language, sorry. But for the vision, would we say is that everyone has a safe place to call home, or would we say is a community where everyone has a safe place to call home?
I like that.
Yeah.
A vision, even though it says it's regional continuum of care, it says vision is that everyone has a safe place to call home. To me, makes me think, you know, maybe we're kind of, very idealistic, and we're gonna, like, you know, give everybody in the world a safe place to call home. You know what I mean? And so the community part kind of tightens that a bit for me. But and also we have a bunch of communities that are a part of this effort, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, maybe make community plural, where community.
Ooh, that's good.
Which we incorporate all the communities in our region.
Ooh. All.
So is it Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care's vision? What is after the CoC piece?
Continuum of Care's vision is collective communities where everyone has a safe place to come home. I don't know. There has to be something. It just going right into communities doesn't make sense there.
Right.
You're right. Needs action.
You could say Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care's vision is that everyone in our region has a safe place to call home, where racial disparities and other. Or did you want to use the word communities specifically?
No, I'm okay with going the way you're thinking. Because you're right, it does, Sorry, no, I retract. I won't say anything.
So I like where we were going earlier, where we put the racial disparities comment earlier. Maybe our vision is a region free of racial disparities and other inequities, where all people have a place to call home.
Mm-hmm.
For all people, is that what you said, Jackie?
That's what I said, right?
Just stick the safe piece in there.
I like that too, Ryan. Safe place.
Yeah.
You could say our vision is a region.
Yes.
A little more direct.
I
missed it, Eric. We
I just was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay, okay.
I mean,
How do we feel about it?
It feels really good if we could be a region that could actually get to that point. That is a visionary statement.
And Jackie, I think that's great, because that's what you would want. You'd sort of want to say, oh yeah, boy, if we could just get there.
Yeah, we'd be in heaven, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's this end state, this highly aspirational place that you want the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis to lead to.
Exactly.
Any other comments on this vision? I know we need to probably let this gel a little bit and sit with people. We probably need to gain some feedback, I think, from some maybe non-board members. Might be healthy and might be helpful, but any other sort of, oh, I got an idea, or this doesn't fit for me, or anything like that from the group? All right, I'll take it that we're really close. So I think it's very good. I like it as an outsider when I read that. So let's move to the mission. I actually thought the vision would be easy. The mission, I think, is a little more difficult, a little more challenging. So the last time where it was left before with the subgroup was, and you probably saw this in a number of emails that MAG staff and Sarah sent out, but I'm going to focus in on, that blue piece, because I was sensing or thought that was what you were close to saying what the mission of the CoC is. Now, remember, that's the purpose, why you exist. And it ought to be simple, it ought to be clear, there ought to be somewhat of a uniqueness to it. I'm throwing out some of these best practices on mission statements. So I want to go back to, how do we feel about this particular statement? So it says the mission of the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care is to end homelessness through proactive leadership that galvanizes our community of diverse stakeholders and policymakers.
It strikes me, for the first time reading this since we last met, my apologies, everyone, that we haven't said galvanizes to do what. We want to end homelessness through proactive leadership, got that. And then galvanizes our community of diverse stakeholders and policymakers to take action to do that, or it's almost like an unfinished thought there.
I think
Maybe it's just mixing the sentence up in a different way.
yeah, that's what I would say, Ryan, is just switch the words around a little bit. That, I kind of like some of the words. I like the word galvanize. I like the word proactive leadership. The mission of the CoC is to provide proactive leadership that galvanizes our community of stakeholders and policymakers to end homelessness.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the mission of Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care is to provide proactive leadership that galvanizes our community.
There you go. To end homelessness, period.
Galvanizes our community of diverse stakeholders to end homelessness, period.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's provide proactive leadership that galvanizes our community of diverse stakeholders and policymakers to end homelessness.
Hi, Tammy. There's conversation before about making homelessness rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. Is this where we wanted to move it to? Or do we want to drop that?
So I thought so earlier too, but looking at the much streamlined vision, it's much more inspirational because it's less how to. And we're all really used to those other words, which are very important, but I feel like they're a known methodology that we definitely want that. It should be in our policies and our, it should be in all the work we do, but I'm not sure now that I'm looking at how much more inspirational or aspirational the vision looks. I'm almost feeling like potentially carrying that down to our mission is also a good idea. I mean, the mission is to end homelessness, right? The goal is for everyone to have the home. And the reason this group meets is to end homelessness so that the vision can occur. And everything else I feel like almost belongs in the rest of it.
I mean, that could be a guiding principle if we wanted to list
a
handful of those.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the very first guiding principle, right? Like, I guess there could be a lot of guiding principles now that I think about it, but. That's a good first guiding principle. Homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring in our region or whatever. Like in my mind, another guiding principle would be something around like, housing is a human right. We might not want to go that far because I know there's some political issues there, but those kind of things.
Okay. So like that we put that down under guiding principles. So let's go back to mission or purpose. How do we feel about this statement? Does this represent, clarity of who we are and why we exist? And I would even add in the uniqueness, right? I think you would want this mission to be unique. And that people who read this will clearly know why the CoC matters, why we need to involve them, why we need to go to them, why their voice matters. Any comments, thoughts? Are you excited?
I'm really happy about it. I really like it.
Good.
Personally.
Good.
I do too.
I would really like to hear from others though.
I just wondered too on anything around support, because, kind of thinking about the continuum of care, it's really not only is it to like stir up thought with others, but then also kind of to support maybe new programs or something, or like any kind of language for sharing of knowledge or anything else that we do as a CoC. But I really, really like it. Both the vision and the mission. I think that they just hit and definitely are very exciting. So awesome work, everyone.
Are those things part of the how, Liz? How we lead and galvanize to end homelessness? Do we do that by supporting new programs and sharing knowledge? I'm wondering if those go in the list of hows.
Goals and strategies and tactics, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there. I just, when they ask, like, why does the CoC matter? I think thinking back like 8 years ago, I wasn't a part of it at all. And we worked very much in silos. And so does our mission statement really kind of hit home on how important it is that we are all together like this and sharing knowledge and information as a system, you know? I see the galvanize, like, yeah, like, and I think that's kind of where we're going with it, right? Like our goal is to bring on new resources and at higher levels and everything, but just making sure that we're not losing anything that we've kind of cultivated along the way in the mission statement. And let me see if I could take a stab at it without just. And I could kind of just try to think on it a little bit more now too, but the thought just kind of came up. Why does the CoC matter?
I wonder if we could somehow include that bring together language in there somewhere. Like what I hear you saying, Liz, is it's not only important, yes, we're leading, but we all have to do this together. We have to bring people together to do this.
Yeah. Did you have something, Eric?
Well, I mean, I'm also thinking, and I'm not the English major or person. I think that's Jackie. But before you said anything, Liz, I was thinking to provide proactive leadership to galvanize our community of diverse stakeholders to make it a little more active. So I wonder, could we say to proactive leadership to unite and galvanize?
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
I've worked on a few political campaigns.
I love that. Hey, I think I have that on my shirt today. Regional unity, look.
Oh,
look at that.
Wow.
So
I mean, unite
Eric,
strong.
Eric, when you said unite, what came to mind to me would be to unite and ignite.
Ooh.
But to sort of replace probably the galvanize.
Oh my God, that's so pretty.
That's poetic.
Wow.
I like it.
I love that.
I do.
Kind of got goosebumps on that one.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
so
that.
good.
We can make the t-shirts now.
I know. What color does everyone want?
And we can sell them as a fundraiser. Just kidding.
I love that.
So the mission, I'm just going to read this out loud and then again ask, are we getting close? Is this, and then we can go down and Sarah, there's some questions that I had just pulled on best practices of mission statements, but let's go back real quick first, or put them underneath or something. The mission of the Maricopa Continuum of Care is to provide proactive leadership to unite and ignite our community of diverse stakeholders and policymakers to end homelessness. And I put some questions together just to sort of question, and it might help us to say, are we close? Do we have an effective mission statement? These are some best practices. What's the target audience or the customer? It's kind of more from maybe a business standpoint, but what is unique or distinctive about the mission? Does the mission provide the answer to what is our purpose? Is it clear, understandable, so anyone who can read this knows who we are? Does it provide value to a problem or unmet need? Is the mission simple, not too complicated? And finally, is the mission impactful and doable to reach our vision? How do we feel about it?
Strongly supportive.
Thank you, Jackie.
I just want to ask, does anyone feel a little bit strange about the word policymakers?
Why do you feel strange about that?
So like community of diverse stakeholders makes sense to me. And I know we need policymakers to change policy. But they're like one of the stakeholders, if you ask me, but maybe not. Or is it so important that we call them out? Because in the end, if we want real systems change, policymakers are going to have to make different choices. So I'm just wondering what people think about that. I just keep thinking about it. And I can't determine which way I think is better.
Well, are they also not also a stakeholder?
They are.
Yeah.
Which is where my first thought is, but is it a good idea to say, like, we go nowhere without policy change, so policymakers, you've got to come together, but then does it sort of disenfranchise everybody else by calling them out separately? I'm not sure.
Ryan, would you want to move policy? So to say, provide proactive policies and leadership? So then you're providing the policies? Or is that not quite the role or the right
Yeah, I feel weird to I feel weird putting that much power on the policymakers. At the same time, I feel weird not acknowledging that if the policymakers don't buy in, we're not going to get anywhere. So maybe there is a different way to include that policy role that feels a little less strange.
What about like saying cities and towns? Not necessarily calling out the policymakers or the elected officials, but more broadly, I don't know.
We could also put that under kind of the how to.
It's not just cities and towns though, right? It's
right.
Stakeholder and yeah.
Would we want to move the policy down to kind of the how to section with the guiding principles?
Okay, hear me out on this one real quick. Go back up there and just for fun, get rid of diverse stakeholders. Just for a minute. Like everybody is a part of our community, right? Stakeholders of every kind, every policymaker.
This is huge, Ryan, too, I think, because in speaking with people experiencing homelessness, they'll tell you about it too. Like we see this ignite in racial inequalities, right? And so it's like the same thing translated to how the community, not just stakeholders, but like the people that walk by them on the streets and stuff, views homelessness. Like how we can kind of change that is truly how we're going to end homelessness, is when we all look at it different. So I think that's huge.
Agreed. Like there's this little nagging thing in my gut that when we call stakeholders and we say policymakers, if you don't see yourself as one of those two things, which most of our constituents will not, then you would not feel included in our mission. And that's, I thank you for helping me figure out what was bothering me. That's what was bothering me, is that I think there are people that would not see themselves as diverse stakeholders or policymakers.
You guys just sold me on it. That was really, I like it.
Yeah, that's a powerful observation and almost so subtle, it'd be easy to miss. So good catch on that.
I feel like for me, this is really powerful. And then we can always talk about all those hows. We should be talking about all those hows, every stakeholder, every policymaker, every person with lived experience, but maybe that doesn't belong in the.
Well, I think that could also be part of how when you put together your strategies and your goals, that clearly will be big pieces of that.
It just adds so much power too, Ryan, to the unite and ignite. Like just thinking about it from that lens, it's fantastic.
I love this.
It's great.
Does anyone have heartburn about removing those words?
The mission of the Maricopa Regional Continuum of Care is to provide proactive leadership to unite and ignite our community to end homelessness.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
To me.
I really like it.
I'm putting in the t-shirt order.
Yes,
I'll take purple.
T-shirts.
Okay, how do we feel about that ink? Is it drying?
Totally.
I'm ready for my tattoo.
Wow.
All right. So we've got two, I think, powerful, I think, meaningful statements, vision and mission, big parts of our work. Without those kind of pillars, I think that then it gets harder to sort of move down the path of putting together what our strategies are. You know, that's the activities, the work, the plan of action to achieve our aim. That's what we'll call strategies. So we're going to work on that, not today, but we will need to work on that. Let's go to values. So let's kind of finish. So we remember values are sort of these this is how we go about doing the work that we do. Sometimes they're called behaviors. Sometimes they're called sort of the attitudes. It's the how piece. And when we did this before, we had a whole bunch of words to kind of start out with it. We brainstormed, as you recall. Then we multi-voted and we came back with, I believe we ended up with 7. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes, 7, but these were the top 5 here.
Okay.
And then these were the additional 2.
Okay. So the question, again, like we're doing mission and vision, is these are the 5. How do people feel about the 5? Do they represent really core behaviors, values that we will absolutely, the important thing about the values is if we put them down, we have to live by them. We have to function and be consistent with them. The worst thing for organizations to do is to sort of say something on a piece of paper and then their behavior totally violates what they've said. It doesn't bode well for organizations that do that. So when we list these, we need to be very clear or very sure that this is who we are. So data-driven, solutions-focused, equitable outcomes, inclusive, adaptive, nimble, excellence. Those were kind of the top 5. And then these other 2, I think, were maybe on the cusp. Were they like the next 2 that follow, just to sort of know where to draw the line? Okay. Yeah. Shared power and then urgency. So how do we feel?
Are we going to flesh each one of those out a little bit more with a statement around what we mean, how we intend to operate around those words?
That might be helpful, particularly Jackie, if there are some that you think are not clear with just the word that we use. If that's open to interpretation, yeah, we probably need to put something with it.
I would agree. I would feel better if it was almost like we act with blah, 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 blah. Like we're stating this is how we will act in defining those, not just defining them, but saying we will, I'm trying to come up with an example for data-driven. Our decisions will be guided by data or whatever, however we say it, but that we put it into some kind of action phrase.
Yeah, that's good.
That commits us to that behavior.
Yeah, I was thinking, Ryan, you're saying that data will drive our decisions, that kind of clarity. Okay. Yeah.
Centered in data.
I feel like it would be really powerful if we were like stating, like we will base our decisions on, accurate data. I'm just making that up, but like we're actually making statements instead of.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Liz.
this may be more like down the road, but we've got to get to a place where we use like the word invest when it comes to data.
Yeah.
Because
I
we need
agree.
to invest in our data, and then that will help inform our decisions.
I mean, I think we have a stewardship responsibility for the, you know, the structural framework around data too, that, you know, is an
Yeah, it's like not just like resources, but
Yep.
also time. Yeah.
policies,
Like we will invest in quality data and use it to make important decisions or something like that.
Yeah. Informed, I think.
Yeah, and use it to make informed decisions or something.
And use it.
Do we invest in the data, or do we invest in the programs that generate the data? The data. I'm not
You
saying.
make it informed decisions. Sorry, Jackie, what were you saying?
No, do we actually make the investment in data, or do we make the investment in the resources to generate the data?
I think we make it in the data, because then it's going to translate into not just making sure we have the right resources for it, but also that we are, you know, we're consulting essentially to see how we better use the data, how we prioritize certain resources based off the data we have. So it seems much like something higher level needs to occur when it comes to investing in the data. I think are you going to put informed? You have important.
Sorry. Oh,
informed.
informed. Thank you, Liz. Was there something after informed decisions? We'll invest in quality data and use it to make informed decisions for our community.
What do you think, Jackie?
We'll invest in quality data and use it to make informed decisions, period.
Yeah. Maybe we could just quickly define each of these.
Mm-hmm.
We will, what on solutions focused?
Remain positive.
So by solutions focused, oh, are we on solutions focused? Are we trying to say that we will try not to get too caught up in process, that we will take risks to get towards solutions? Like, what are we trying to say around solutions focused? Or we will keep our eye on the end goal?
Can I make, my thought would be, when you said that, it was, we're going to be results oriented, right? That we're not going to just talk about these things. We're going to deliver results. Maybe we.
Like all of our activities will be, this is not the sentence, but will be with the end goal of delivering results. Maybe
say measurable
we will be
results.
results oriented.
Could it be we will be focused on solutions and delivering results?
It is, though. It's like there is some type of risk that does need to occur, and that's that like nimble kind of language again.
Maybe that's out down further.
Well, yeah, well, just like, because solution focused, we will be focused on solutions and delivering results. How we get there in this environment is definitely through risk and strategy.
And maybe we don't have to say will be, just we will focus on solutions and delivering results.
I like that.
Okay.
And then, but I think with Liz's point, it's something like, we will seize opportunities for innovation, or we will, we will
I
be,
think that's it.
yeah, something like that.
That might go down in the adaptive nimble one or the excellence one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we mean by nimble. That's good.
Or is it, Eric, I don't want to change this, but we will focus on innovative solutions and deliver results? Or is that a separate?
I don't know.
I think maybe we are capturing it down there in the adaptive nimble. But also in the adaptive nimble, do we also want to say, like, we're not afraid to change and change quickly if needed?
Right.
Right, like sometimes for me, that adaptive nimble part is sometimes we get really invested in something we've been working on for a long time, even if it's not necessarily working, and something else comes along that might shake us up a bit, but is worth trying. I want to make sure that we're comfortable with that. Like, I know we've invested in this and everybody's put their heart and soul into this, but now this has come along and it's showing really great results. We shouldn't be afraid to dive into that too, or just make a change. We really can't afford to be afraid in this business.
Right.
To make a change if there's a breakthrough somewhere that works, because lives depend on it.
It is that, like, a lot of the things I was trying to get to in solution focused are that we have it in its own section. So is it more like we need to see things through to completion? Because sometimes I do think we kind of get started on things and have these great ideas and all this stuff, and then something else comes along. So when it comes to solution focused, is it like through implementation?
So there's the opposite of that too then.
So it's solution focused through it to implementation or something. Maybe it's more in the solution focus because adaptive and nimble kind of covers all that other like risk and innovation and flexibility stuff we're looking at. Oh, is that where we have deliver results already? I'm kind of having it up in solutions focused. Maybe it's already there.
Are we on the next one yet? Sorry.
Kind of moved around a little bit.
Are we on equitable outcomes?
If we are.
Are we happy with solutions focused?
I think so. I just took the long road.
Okay. So on this next one, I think I don't understand why they're put together with the dash, because I kind of see if we're inclusive on the front end, that's important and that's a value, but then we also want to seek equitable outcomes on the back end. I see them as two different things, but I'm willing to hear why they're smushed together.
Does anyone know why they're smushed together?
I think it's because the votes were very similar. I'd have to go back and check the data, but I think they're both at about 33%. And when we put them together, then they were, they came up over the 50% mark.
But maybe they're in, we don't have to have just 5 values, right? If we think both are important.
Yeah, as many as you want. Yeah, we can definitely separate them. And this nimble and adaptive is also separated, but same percentage.
And can we talk about this equitable outcomes for a minute? It could be that I'm just not fully understanding it, but for me, okay, I remember we had a discussion about the equitable, meaning it may look different for everybody, but everybody's getting what they need. And that's what I kind of want to make sure that we're clear on, because equitable doesn't mean equal. But if we don't define it well, I think it could be misconstrued. So for me, that equitable outcomes means that each individual gets what they need for success.
like
For me.
individual person experiencing homelessness, right?
Right,
Like not each agency that is in.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay, I like that.
there's a million ways to skin this cat,
Yeah.
and everybody needs you to do it somehow different. And I want that's also kind of where Nimble comes in for me, is we put all of these standards and rigidity around, like, let's just take the example of coordinated entry, right? Our goal is to create equity, right? But in doing so, sometimes we're not doing the best thing for the person in front of us. And I struggle with that personally, because all of the folks that we want to assist have such different needs, and they have such different traumas and needs. And I want to be able to serve each of them in the way that they need to be served. And that's really hard when we're all trying to share resources and create equity. And so I just want to be really clear that we want our system, or at least this is how I feel. And if everyone doesn't feel this way, then it's totally different thing. But for me, it's so important that we have a system that can be person-centric, which is to me even more potentially important than equity, although in the end, I think equity means that. So those are my thoughts.
When Ryan, when
I
you
don't have any
started,
solutions. Those are my thoughts.
when you started talking, I immediately thought, okay, where is our person-centric, where is our, the system will be, centered on the end user.
Yeah, I think the issue for me is that we've put equitable and outcomes together, and maybe that's where we want equity, in that we want every person to get whatever that person needs to end their homelessness. So I'm wondering if the word outcomes is kind of throwing us off, or at least throwing me off a little. Maybe what we want is equity. And what we would mean by that, or what I would mean by that, is that every person gets what they need to end their homelessness. And that it's do you guys feel like that's what we meant by equitable outcomes? Or am I totally taking something and making it something it wasn't?
To me, equitable outcomes implies that the outcomes are the same for everybody.
Yeah, that's, even though probably it doesn't technically mean that, it's got that perception.
But I like what you're saying about equity and calling that out as
because equity to me actually means that it's different for each person, because what I need and what you need to get to the same place is not going to be the same.
Exactly.
And I struggle with that word everything. I think just what maybe.
Is it like equitable service delivery?
Gets what they need to end their homelessness. And I don't know that we can ensure anything, but I think our value is that each person gets what they need. I don't know about the word ensure. Maybe it's we want each person experiencing homelessness to get what they need.
Is that reasonable?
I mean,
I know where you're going from it.
Yeah, or is it
values perspective?
Seek to ensure, I don't know.
Seek to provide.
Strive.
Yes. Seek to provide, yeah. Seek to serve each person in the way they need to be served. I don't know.
Probably.
So just Ryan,
We seek to provide each person experiencing homelessness what they need to end their homelessness. I don't know.
Provide each person experiencing.
I don't think we're quite there, but I think we're on the right track.
Right. While I'm looking at this other one under the nimble piece, it should be seize instead of cease. SIEZE, opportunity,
These, yeah.
not CISA.
With an
S.
S-Y,
SSEIZE.
C's like you grab something.
I see. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So I was going to ask Ryan, if we're not at this equity one, what would be the opposite of this? Just so I understand, this is a value, this is behavior. If we are
The
behaving
opposite
the opposite,
is that we give everybody the same thing and hope that they get to the same result.
Okay. So that's sort of that's sort of why outcomes was helpful, because it's not about the outcome we want is for them to be no longer homeless. So we do want the same outcome,
Okay.
right? And I thought
Yeah.
maybe that's why you were put that in there before, but we didn't really, the process to get there or the services to deliver are going to be individual focused. So if I just look at equity, I may think that means equal,
Okay.
but again, I'm sort
So
of.
if we said like equitable outcomes means each person gets what they need, it still could mean the same thing to end their homelessness?
Think about that a minute.
To me, equitable outcomes means everybody's having the same outcome. Equal and the same. I know
I guess the difference for me is that it's not going to take the same thing to get them there. You're right. We want everyone to have a safe place to call home, but the path there is going to be different for everybody. And we have to be able to accommodate that and recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the word you just used? I don't know if that's the word, accommodate individual needs.
Mm-hmm.
We seek to accommodate individual needs to end homelessness.
Or is it like we will provide person-centric services, I don't know, to ensure everyone gets, I don't know.
Also individualized could be word. Could
Yes,
be
that's a good word. I like that.
we seek to provide
individualized. I like that. Yeah.
Individualized services so that each person reaches their goals. I don't know.
Isn't it so that each individualized service so that each person
Can end their homelessness?
can end their homelessness? Yeah.
Should we put something in there? Like, I guess individualized maybe encompasses it, but if it was, we seek to provide individualized services so that each person can end their homelessness regardless of barriers or something like that. Or is that getting too wordy?
Could it be that we recognize that each person will have a unique path? Or
We seek to recognize. Yeah, I like recognize because that's really behavior. To me, that's
we recognize that each person will need something different to end their homelessness, like
A unique intervention.
yeah.
We recognize that each person requires a unique intervention.
Like it's a really like a whatever it takes sort of philosophy is kind of where I'm going, and that means something different for every person.
Yeah.
And maybe we come back to it, at least we know what we're trying to say.
I like the whole ends their homelessness because it puts the power into their hands.
What's the statement with inclusive to move us on a little bit?
We will share decision-making power with people with lived experience.
Yeah. with people with lived experience.
Do we want to say something broader and include that as an example? Maybe such as people traditionally marginalized or historically marginalized, such as people with lived experience?
Yeah, that might be better because I was just thinking that it doesn't say about Black, Indigenous, and people of color either. Decision-making power with people who have been traditionally marginalized, such as those with lived experience.
Those with lived experience, decision-making power with people who have been traditionally marginalized, comma, such as those with lived experience. That's a good one.
Feel pretty good about that. I get it. How about adaptive?
I think maybe adaptive and nimble might be the same.
Mm-hmm. Kind of.
So like I love the seize opportunity for innovation, but also could we add to that willingness to change or change direction or take risk?
We can incorporate it and be nimble in our willingness to take risks. Sarah, WILLINGNESS.
Oh, but I like willingness.
Wiliness. I think that's something different. We might want to be wily too, but I think we're talking about being willing.
Oh, Willie. No.
I want to see about kind of bringing us back to inclusive. I know that we want to move on, but this one I think is really important. And I just wonder about that language, like we will share decision-making power. It almost kind of like, for me,
like it's ours to give.
Yeah. And instead it's like, we want to cultivate this atmosphere that like,
ooh,
like lends, I mean, I'm just going to try to throw some things out there, but like makes it more open. So if you're experiencing homelessness and you want to be heard, like how do you then feel welcome to come to the meeting too, right? And then like, how do you feel so welcome that you can speak up and share your voice about what you're experiencing? And then how do we like accept that and then like, you know, empower them to continue on? And then same thing for like, say you are a new shelter case manager, maybe you've got ideas, but how do we kind of create this atmosphere that allows for you to bring your ideas and feel supported? So yeah.
Oh, I love this, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything you're saying.
We will cultivate
an atmosphere of openness and empower. I'm just trying to spit back what I felt like you said, and empower people to find their voices and contribute, or people to empower people to share their thoughts, share their
expertise,
ideas and expertise.
Yeah.
And maybe we can take a little better stab at people in a minute here. And really define what we mean by people.
Is it community again? Do we kind of go back to that community?
Our community.
I have Can we put experience in here somewhere, like ideas, expertise, and experience?
I love that. Ideas, what was it?
Ideas, comma, expertise, comma, and experience.
Or could it be ideas, knowledge, and experience?
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
And do we leave the lived experience? Because I mean, that can apply to anything like homelessness, shelter, case manager, right? It's all lived experience.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Mistakes,
Yeah.
What was that? With lived experience?
And knowledge and lived experience.
just and experience.
And experience, not lived. Share their ideas, knowledge, and experience. Cultivating an atmosphere of openness and empower our community to share their ideas.
That's so good, Liz.
I love that.
Nice.
Do we need, just a question, do we need the traditionally marginalized terminology in here?
No, I don't think so, because we're just gonna go
I
with.
feel again like that's calling out like a certain sector.
Okay.
Like, and we want to be non calling out of people.
I don't know about that. I'm struggling. I have a suggestion overall as a white, straight man. I don't feel like this is my position to call it, but I would love if we could bounce this to the to our racial equity group or something. I'm concerned about power. We talked a little bit about power dynamics a minute ago. But I noticed on, let's see, I think it was Seattle's, where they elevated improving outcomes for American Indian, Alaskan Native population experiencing homelessness in King County. It is right in their first sentence. And if we are truly about, dismantling white supremacy, dismantling, the racist system that has gotten us to where we are, I would feel very strongly about us calling that out here as specifically as possible. Again, I'm not the one to write that or do it. It just strikes me it should happen.
I'm wondering, can we have our own like total statement about a racial equity statement that's overarches everything? Or do you think it needs to be in our values? So if it does, I'm wondering if it's like its own value, because I feel like what Liz was saying was, and I know exactly what you're talking about, Liz, really including everyone in our continuum, including people who have not been active participants, like people with lived experience, to feel like this is their place. But the racial equity thing, that overlies everything we're talking about, not just this need to be inclusive in the way we behave.
Right. It could be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true too. And I do think it's a good idea to bump it up against some of the other work groups that just specialize in this and the right language to have, because it's like you want to get to a point where we no longer have to call it out, right? But we aren't there yet, and we agree with that, right? So maybe we're not able to kind of have it here yet. I do think what you said too, Ryan, is that it does need its own section. In the environment we live in right now, we need to call out specifically.
Like even like in our vision, mission, and like statement on racial equity, and like literally point out that we acknowledge that this has existed. It's playing out in everything we do and see, and we want to be very specific in saying that we want this overlay to apply to everything here that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think to be true to our committee and their report, it recommends we actively dismantle, we actively take action, not just we become more equitable and ensure that things don't happen again. We have to actively act. Sorry,
we have to actively acknowledge and say we're going to take certain steps to undo what we have been doing.
That's right, and it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to work on that now, or
what if we let our racial equity committee build our statement?
Yeah, I sort of wonder if that makes sense too, right? I like that.
I think if possible, and I'd be happy to volunteer to do this, like or a group of us to go, and maybe meet with them.
To them.
meet next. Yeah, I don't want to just assign the labor to that group. I think we ought to lead with them on it, but I agree, they're the right place. They're the right group to kind of bring us forward what we should be, how we should start it and write on it. So.
Agreed. And maybe those of you who have been so active in that group could take it to them and
that's good.
Explain the goal and empower them to be our leaders on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be great because you give them context to what this group has been struggling with or how we've been working on the strategic plan. And this group really wants a statement on racial equity to be included at the very top of our strategic plan.
I like that. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing that up.
No, I do appreciate that.
You help me understand, like I'm making an effort to not call it out because I don't want it to be a thing, but it is a thing. And we need to recognize that it's a thing and deal with it outright. That's right.
A lot of years of listening and, trying to understand.
So before we move off of this, because I know it's a takeaway, who is it that's taking away that from this group that can meet with that committee or that group?
I know Eric and Tamara have been very involved. Maybe there's others.
I actually haven't, but
okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy, if it was appropriate. But if Tamara,
I know Tamara has.
Yeah, well, let's volunteer Tamara.
Speak up, Tamara.
Sam has been, okay.
Yeah. Is Sam on right now?
Don't think so.
Yeah, I can bring it back to the work group.
Okay.
I can help assist as well, Tamara.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go back and try to wrestle adaptive, nimble, and excellence with a statement with those. And I know this can get tiring, by the way, trying to wordsmith and think deeply about these things, but let's see if we can kind of conclude with, so I think we said nimble and adaptive were real similar. Maybe we don't need adaptive the way that we've described nimble. Is that what I heard one suggestion?
I feel like nimble's more, I do think they're the same, and I think nimble's a little bit more active.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like.
How would people feel about eliminating adaptive, knowing that it is similar to nimble with a statement that we've put in place?
We could even have the word adaptive in our definition of nimble somewhere.
Good.
I think we'll take it out. We okay with we will seize opportunity for innovation and be nimble, willingness to take risks?
And be adaptive.
Do we want to just we will seize the opportunity for innovation and the willingness to take risks?
Like that.
And be willing to take risks?
And be willing to take risks. We will seize opportunity for innovation and be willing to take risks.
Sounds a little eh.
And be willing to take risks to ensure.
I would just leave it. I think I'd be willing to take risks. I think.
To get the job done.
Yeah.
Maybe it's we will be willing to take risks and seize the opportunity for innovation.
Is that
if I say it like that? Is it better?
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh my gosh. And seize opportunities.
Innovation.
Yeah, I like that order better too, actually.
Sorry, and seize opportunities to what?
For innovation.
Oh, for innovation.
She just
We're
reversed
just gonna get rid of it at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
We
good.
will be willing to take risks and seize opportunities for innovation.
We will. Oh, sorry. We will be willing to take risks and seize opportunities for innovation.
How about on excellence?
I'd like to hear what people felt like excellence meant.
I mean, this is like staying so relevant for me, like with all new information, evidence-based practices. Like how do we stay fluid essentially and kind of like continue to learn and advance more and more? So as like the race equity stuff comes in, we go beyond what we were previously and become better. But then what else can we be adding to our work that is beyond that, you know? So just to kind of throw
Like we will strive to remain
informed.
Current. We will strive to remain, we want to be on top of all the new information. So we're not just sitting here waiting for information to come to us or thinking, wow, we did such a great job. Look at us. We're constantly
evolving.
Oh.
Remain. We will strive to evolve.
Would evidence-based best practices fit in here?
Wow.
So I may take a little different tack when I hear excellence. I sort of feel like the behavior is that this group will be 100% committed, all in. We give everything we have. You know, we're not doing it partially. We're not just giving lip service, that we're all in everything that we are trying to do. Now, I may interpret that wrongly, but that's the sort of excellent standard that I often think of when organizations have put in excellence.
That's not how I read it, but I think that's important. Like, I think that is awesome. I mean, I think that helps, you know, that sets a reach and a goal for us as individual, you know, people on the Continuum of Care board as well. It also covers, you know, ethical, you know, ethics and those sorts of things too. But
right.
So Eric, can I ask, when you read excellence, then how would you?
I was more on where we were. I mean, on the, you know, best practice, evidence-based practices, you know, kind of
okay,
cutting edge. But I don't know. I think they're both important. Maybe what you raised is more important for me than the other in terms of in our values. But I don't know.
Well, and I may be pushing sort of a thinking that, you know, part of the values of organizations, they need to be accountable. And so I was sort of pushing towards this idea of being all in and accountable to reach this mission.
Right.
Right. And so.
Right. And you know, I think we want to have people engaged that are willing to, you know, you're right, to go all in to you know, I think we're going to have to break out of traditional, you know, modes and roles to achieve our goals. So.
I really love the accountability piece, because this sector, like, it kind of feels like all kinds of people have funding for it, but not really held accountable to achieving outcomes.
Yeah.
Are you accountable to be change agents? Are you accountable to
ending homelessness?
You will strive.
I think that this is perfect, Jim, because I think honestly, like when you're all in, then it encompasses everything else. Like you will remain relevant of all evidence-based practices, because essentially you're all in, and so you're going for it at all times. So I just wonder if it's not just around ending homelessness too, though, because then it did cover like ethics and all those other things that Eric was talking about. So
yeah,
we will strive to be all in and remain accountable.
Ooh.
I mean, what these values should hopefully help you do as a board is it allows you to sort of have some accountability to one another on how you're going to behave. And when you see inconsistencies, it allows you to say, hey, look what we said on this piece of paper. And, you know, if somebody's not accountable, allows you to talk about it. Or if they don't want to take risks, they want to take some safe, you know, avenue, you can say, hey, we said we want to take risks. It's in our values. It allows a document or allows some sort of standard to be used to call out behaviors for one another.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to be, you know, vindictive or
Right.
mean, but it's helpful to draw your line together.
Yeah, I like it. I like us saying, you know, remain accountable, because I agree with what Tamara said, and I just saw in one of these talked about holding funders / providers accountable. You know, I think that's the right sentiment. That is a very provocative term, I would think, if you're, you know, trying to unite and ignite, right? So anyway, but I do think I think we cover it there.
Okay.
As an
All right.
alternative, oh, sorry, Jim. As an alternative to all in, do we want to say fully committed?
Good.
Yes.
I'm wondering if people outside of this conversation will understand all in, like all in what?
Yeah, it was like kind of street slang, throwing it in our.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're playing poker. Yeah, no.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
We strive to be.
I like that, fully committed.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, because you aren't necessarily. I don't believe you get paid, right, to do this CoC. Can I make sure I've got that right? So
No.
your day job, you have a day job, and you are coming to this group to make a difference. And if folks are, if you don't have a group of people that are fully committed without being paid to do this, then you're not going to get very far. So I think asking people who are going to join you to be fully committed and accountable to what this CoC is trying to do, I think is a pretty important statement. You don't want people just to give it lip service or, you know, to come every other week or once every, you know, couple of months, right? I don't want to push too hard on that.
Oh, exactly. It was very good.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need shared power? I'm going to ask a question. I think you've got some really good values. I think you have great discussion today on what these mean. I really like the fact that we put a little sentence to each one. That's so important. Do we need shared power and urgency?
I don't think so.
I think that we talked about the empowered, shared power, and the inclusive. So that one I feel comfortable with. Urgency may be a theme that we've not really touched upon. Do we feel like that's an important value that we need to have stated?
Can it go in solution focused? Is it covered there?
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to put and deliver results with a sense of urgency?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was mentioned that these words here, I don't know if we want to do anything with those right now.
Are those more tactics maybe?
Yeah, or they're part of our strategies when we talk about strategy and goals. So I think maybe Sarah, this is my suggestion. We put those as some stuff that we want to keep and talk about when we kick off the conversation about goals and strategies. So we won't lose those concepts. But I do agree with, for me, that would work in what Amy said. So we have 6 values. So we conclude with data-driven, solutions-focused, equitable outcomes, inclusive, nimble, and excellent. Okay. Before we leave this, any comments, anything people want to add to values? How do you feel about those?
We got some work done today, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I would hope we have a 90% sort of solution here with mission, vision, and values for the CoC. So can I ask, now that we've got these three ideas here, do we want, I think, Sarah, you had maybe in our agenda, or there's been the conversation of maybe these need to get taken to some other people to get their feedback or to sort of test them. Was that part of next steps with mission, vision, and values?
Mhm.
Was that discussed before, or?
It was.
Okay.
How they might want to vet it with other groups.
So who is it that you would vet these with? Help me understand who those specific groups or people are.
I think the idea was to send it back through the work group, subcommittees, committee, and then have it come back up
Okay. All right.
to the board.
So I'm always big on who, what, where, when. So I guess, Sarah, you would send them to the committees and say, review those, ask for feedback, comments, questions, give them a couple of weeks, a month period of time, get back to us. And then we would look at anything that came back at a future board meeting. Does that sound all right?
Approve at a board meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Could I suggest one other option similar, but maybe instead of sending the language to them, having one of the board members attend a meeting at each of those different groups and present to them on this is what we've come up with, and seeking their input during the meeting.
Love that even better. Absolutely. Have a board member who's been, involved with this sausage making, have them go and, give the context and some thought behind it, present it, talk about it. Yeah, better than an email. Love it.
I like that as well. I am worried, however, about some of the representation on our committees and our board right now, to be honest, because we're still not getting a lot of feedback from lived experience and people of color and Black, Indigenous people. So I'm just wondering how we're going to get that feedback.
Well, we're getting ready to go out into the field with a survey with persons with lived experience to ask them what they need. We can always include this as part of that survey work. Is that good?
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
It's a start.
That survey out.
To start.
What's that?
How are you going to be administering the survey?
St. Vincent de Paul, and I could pull up the survey too if you'd all like, but St. Vincent de Paul has offered to send the survey out to all of their sites to ensure that, a diverse number of folks are going to be taking it. But we would like as many different providers to possibly take the survey, if not now, but at some point.
Great.
So
Can I offer some feedback on that, Sarah?
yes.
So and I'll just speak for the Chandler community and think that I would be speaking for any community where maybe St. Vincent de Paul isn't the major player, but there's some other major players. Yeah. Is it possible to get this survey? Is it possible for each community potentially to tell you which agencies they would like to have the survey made available to, and then those agencies could proctor the survey to their constituents? Or can we let every nonprofit either that, or could every agency that serves people experiencing homelessness actually have the opportunity to get it to their participants?
That would be awesome. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've been trying to figure out the incentives piece, of course, because we don't want folks to do things for free. So right now we've got about 50 bus passes. So I guess I'll look to Amy and Brandy about timeline for that. With this,
I would think it would be very different by agency, like, and I think you could use Jackie on this conversation right now to speak for her agency, or Liz to speak for her agency, that they each serve a clientele that has a little bit different needs, and you know, their programs work a little bit differently, and they might be able to tell you better what incentive might work for their population, or if an incentive is needed, or
mm-hmm.
We do surveys a couple of times a year throughout all of our programs, and we get a fairly significant response. We don't provide incentives, but we would be happy to disseminate to our clients. And right now, with all of the CARES dollars that have come to us, we have a really very robust group of families, some singles, that we're serving. So I'd be happy to take the survey out to all of them, have my case coordinators reach out to all of them.
Be great. Thank you. I think instead of, so another option to consider, so we've shared the persons with lived experience survey with the municipalities already. I think sending out to the continuum of care lists to all of the providers would be excellent. And that way we can get this out in the field very quickly, and to ask them to administer the survey, to send us the results. I think we could make that happen pretty efficiently. And then if someone does need incentives, please contact us, and then we can try and figure that out with them. But it sounds like, particularly providers, you already have a good relationship with your clients. And so the incentive might not be quite as much of an issue there.
I'm certainly supportive of whatever, any survey having, it's talking to people with lived experience, asking about all of these topics, right? I think it's very important. You guys know, well, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but I think it's different than having a group of people with lived experience and review this review the statements and documents. So I'm guessing we probably aren't there yet, but maybe it is a thing to ask the Racial Equity Committee to, kind of advise us on how we could ensure we have some of that feedback. I'm just not sure if, a client in a shelter, I don't know how much this, our document is going to mean to them, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how would that look on the survey for folks to get feedback on the mission statement? Would it be me, or mission, vision, values? Would it be me just putting it on the survey, just saying, what are your thoughts? Does this work?
We could do like a rate, you could do like a rating. And then you can have a comment section, but probably mostly like a rating on each different one. And then we can say, okay, this threshold passed like 7. And so we want to move forward with it. Or at least we're like adding opportunity for them to provide some level of insight. And we would be open to it at CBI, getting it out to our outreach teams and then going out and assisting them with providing feedback. That'd be fine.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah. Just a quick submission. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I do love the part about having a comment section and asking what they would want or need from the system that's serving them, or what's missing, what's not working.
Yeah.
Just another question, maybe just timing wise, would it be better to work on strategies to achieve our mission? These are the major areas of effort, the plan of action. Would it be better to have that with this, then get feedback? Or is this kind of a multi-lap kind of review that we really want to check now before we spend more effort or time on strategies and goals? What do people think about that? Or is there a thought?
Another option is we could also see at some point if we could have kind of a focus group. I'm wondering if the strategies would be more in depth than what a survey would really convey well. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if we go out now with the survey for the shorter material and then have a focus group for the more in-depth material, such as the strategies.
I love that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I do too, particularly for something like this, because then you could get into, I mean, it could also be kind of a, you know, you get into what the actual, you know, continuum does, answer questions, that sort of thing too.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we're taking this in a survey form, and we're also taking a board member will take it to the committee. So we got sort of both of those parallel tracks going. We'll take all that feedback and we'll do a check back with the board on what the results were. Okay. Sarah, that's kind of where we wanted to get to today. I think we've really great work, great accomplishment. I think we've got, you know, 4 of these big efforts of the strategic plan, I think really close. The next step's just on the strategic plan piece. And then Sarah, I'm going to let you go into the rest of the agenda. I know we don't have much time left, but really to start working on strategies and goals. So we need to talk about that next step and timing and all that. But Sarah, I'll let you go back to the agenda for the last number of talking points you wanted to cover.
Sure, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. So the next thing on the agenda really is to see how you all wanted to tackle creating your policy-related goals. And so one thing, of course, Jim and I met, you know, to strategize about how to tackle these concepts. And I'll just read you the definition of a goal. It really helped me. The object of the goal is an object of a person or organization's ambition or effect, an aim or desired state. Strategy, a plan of action to achieve a major overall aim or mission in order to work on strong goals, or we should think of them as SMART goals: specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and time-based as the best practice. So with that, you know, when we're thinking about overarching policy goals, what kind of data will you all want and need to determine your policy-related goals? That's really what this next section on our agenda is to see what kind of information and tools would you like us to gather for you so that you can make the most informed decision on where you want to go with your goals, with your policy-related goals.
I can tell you, since the veteran space has been very data centric and data informed, something that we've been diving, well, first, just having that data available has been a game changer for us. We're able to see exactly where every single veteran is in this system at any point in time. But probably the most illuminating was our returns to homelessness. And I'm thinking veterans are a microcosm of the rest of the system. And so I'm really curious about returns. And I think even AZ Central wrote about it too, that 1 in 5 people are returning that get housed in our system. And so I feel like there's something that we need to plan around mitigating those returns.
Excellent.
I totally agree with that, Tamara. We're seeing referrals from the hub, and when we look them up, the family up in HMIS, they've been from place to place to place to place multiple times. And, you know, it's like, okay, what's going on? How do we intervene effectively and move this family on? And in some ways, we're enabling, because in some of the cases, there really is no comprehensible reason why this is happening. And in my mind, we've got to get a handle on this. So thank you for bringing that up.
Those are both great points. I wanted to it just made me think of the system performance measures. So wanted to mention that I think at the next meeting, those will be presented to the board. So I believe returns to homelessness is one of the system performance measures.
Yes. What other data? Yeah, Tamara? Or Liz?
Yeah, so going off what Brandy said, so yeah, if we always, I don't know if you guys have it, but the system performance measures, there should be some kind of a dashboard that we can always take a look at to see where we're at as a system as it relates to those.
Mm-hmm. Dashboard of SPMs.
Yeah, I would love more, what am I trying to say here? Like more involved dashboards, or just a dashboard. Like we don't really have one besides like we have two for veterans, but it's not like a public facing, like on the MAG website or on a different website, like showing what's happening in our system. Is there a plan to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, there is. We're currently in phase 1, actually, and you'll be getting a really awesome presentation at the end of this month on the dashboard phase 1 rollout.
Awesome.
But as far as the next steps, as far as creating policy related goals, more like, you know, fairly quickly, you know, before we can like build out a dashboard for SPMs, like what type of data are you interested in getting from either HMIS or is there any type of survey or outreach that you think would be really helpful from you know, diverse perspectives? Anything that would help that you'd really like to get a little more information on so that you can?
I don't think that we're getting data presented to us enough. I feel like every meeting should start with like a small data review of like what's happening, what we're seeing. I feel like somebody did from MAG, and I can never remember his name, and I'm sorry. He presented on the eviction data.
Yeah.
But I would love to know how many people that are being evicted are coming into our system. How long are they staying in our system? And then for the returns, how many different agencies have they gone to, and why aren't we able to resolve their homelessness? Like those are data points that I feel like would be important. Mm-hmm. We're not really resolving homelessness. We're not getting at the root cause of somebody's homelessness. We're just kicking the can. And as we do that, they're burning through landlords. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tamara, are you thinking like, you know, during every board meeting, kind of just kick it off with some data? Is that what you meant, or?
Yeah, I mean, sort of like the community solutions model where we have like, we start out with our aim. And so for veterans, our aim is to reduce veteran homelessness by 30% by next year. And so how are we going to get there? And then we start looking at our data points and like, what's making us not get there? One big thing was that we have 43 veterans returning to homelessness every month. That's insane.
And I'll tell you, my gut tells me it was when we were talking about the equitable outcomes piece. And that's because I'm close enough here with my outreach team to sort of, you know, staff cases and see what's going on. And our TBRA and some different programs, I see the same trend, which is that when someone isn't able to meet the expectation of that particular program in whatever area, whatever that is that day, we are unable to do whatever it takes, be less rigid, bend a rule, like to figure out how to make it work for that person. We have all these barriers that we keep in place. So I find our successes over here are based on when the challenge arises, that we invent a creative solution that works for that particular person to keep moving forward. Otherwise, we lose people in whatever program due to whatever constraint they doesn't work for them. So it's that piece about being able to be nimble for each individual, and not letting our larger program constraints get in the way of the greater goal. And so in terms of data,
Yeah.
How do you get to those? So I think you got to do what Tamara said and figure out. So she got to the point where it was like, okay, we have 43 returns. Now we need to dive into what made that. Why did they leave how did they get kicked out of the program? Or why did they choose to leave the program? What was there and what could we have done differently at that moment? So like data is great. I think we need to see all these systems stuff, but then we really have to dive down and figure out where the breaking point is on each of those little things.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it might not necessarily be, we do need data, but maybe we need some education up front to understand how each system works, and then look at the data on each system and figure out where someone got bumped off the track. Where are people getting bumped off the track, and how do we make sure that they don't get bumped off the track, that we smooth the tracks out?
It's a little different point, but I would also ask that, you know, if we have a dashboard or we have a data tool, that we spend some time with y'all showing us basics of how it works. But I think to Ryan's point, also what's important, you know, what we should be looking at and tracking. I know, you know, to the point Jim made earlier about how busy we all have other lives. I will very easily miss something like that if it were sent in email, and probably not. I mean, I would love it. I would like to see it, but probably won't spend the time unless you've kind of, you know, spoon fed us a little bit at first.
So I know we only have a couple more minutes. So let me ask you this before we say goodbye. So what do you all see as the process to determine this structure or the support needed? Would that be like to create these goals? Would you like to create a goal creation ad hoc? Or how do you want to tackle this? Is this another strategic planning session? How would you like to proceed with the goal creation? And to further the conversation about what type of information you'd like to be able to make your decisions. Because we simply just don't have enough time today.
I think it's another strategic planning session, because this right here allows for much more just like conversation that I think needs to take place. And I really do think, like, just to kind of start us, if we looked at the system performance measures, it talks to, are people entering our shelters from homelessness? And so, and then in that we can design a policy that says the threshold needs to be X amount, needs to be coming in from a homeless situation. And then what needs to happen in order to be able to get the different providers to be doing that, you know? So I think a lot will come from us just first looking at system performance measures, and then also the returns to homelessness. That's probably enough for us to try to bite off at first and then see where it takes us.
Oh, that sounds great. How do others feel? Does having another strategic, I could send out another doodle, see how folks feel. Do we want to just plan one more strategic planning session for April, or do we, much like March, do we want to put 2 in? If we don't need the second one, I could cancel.
We also still need to work on our committee structure and how we want the seats to look like, our board structure, how many seats we want the seats to look like, breakdown,
Sounds like 2 at least. Yeah.
Yeah. More than 2. Okay, cool. So you'll be getting a doodle from me here towards the beginning of the week. And is there anything else? I know we've got 1 more minute. Anything else before we say goodbye today that we should cover or say?
Yeah, I have to just take this last 30 seconds, but like creating an action plan. So now it has on there, the committee structure is on there, and then a timeline, and then now the system performance measures and timeline, because we keep on throwing these ideas out, but we're not really kind of putting them down in writing.
Sounds great. Committee structure, goals, creation.
Before Sarah sends out a doodle poll, what is your feeling about this time on Friday at 2 to 4? I know it's grueling at the end of the week. I get it. We're kind of tired.
I mean,
and
the
energies.
time slot works. I'm not at highest functioning, but the time slot works.
Yeah, same.
I think Sarah, you tried to reschedule this to another time by getting people's input for a better time, and I don't think you got anything better. So we fell back into Friday afternoon, but I sort of agree with you, given the lack of, the full committee's attendance, or more of the committee's attendance Friday afternoon, maybe that isn't a good time.
What if we flipped it to a Friday morning? And what if we polled to see if a Friday morning, I have Friday morning meetings, but they're with my team and I can flip those if I need to. And that's just my circumstance, but I think we're all fresher in the morning, afternoons, like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I get sleepyhead at about 3:00 in the afternoon.
And what I can do too to make it simpler is offer less options. I think I tried to accommodate everyone, so I offered so many options, and I just don't think that was the right thing to do. So I'll try to only offer like 4 or 5 options, and then hopefully.
Sarah, that would be very helpful. That about drove me nuts.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to do it with good intent, but I didn't work out.
I respect how hard it is, I'll tell you.
It is. Okay. So what I'm hearing is I'll send out a doodle poll, and I'll put 4 or 5 options on there, at least for a couple sessions for April, and on whether it's the first, second, or third session, we'll talk about community structure, goals creation, and of course send me any other ideas you have, and just appreciate everybody's time today on this Friday late afternoon.
Appreciate you all too.
Awesome work, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Great
great
job.
weekend.
Great weekend.